So students, now we want to take an example on the first kind, but case 2. Remember, the case 2 is where we have, if we have the middle number to be positive and the last term to be negative. So let's take a quadratic equation example like that. So an example like that, that is where the middle number, the middle is positive, the last is negative. So let's check. We have the middle to be positive. Meanwhile, the last number is negative. So we have a question like, let's say, for example, x squared plus x minus 6 equal to 0. You see, the middle is positive, the last term is negative. Now, to solve this quadratic equation, look at this. This is still x squared. That means x and then x. Two values of x, right? Not like 2x, but 2 square of x. So now, to get 6, how do we get 6? 6 times 1 is 6. Divide 6 by 2, you have 3. 3 times 2 is 6. If you and that's actually what you can get. So once you have broken it down to the simplest term, you are now going to pick these terms here. But then, what do you now apply to the terms is what we are actually focused on. Because looking at this now, what do we now apply to these terms? Which one becomes a bigger number, and which one takes the negative, and which one takes the positive. Now let's check the rule. If we have where the middle term is positive, the last term is negative, let's check. Middle term positive, last term negative, then bigger number will now be what? Positive, while the smaller number takes negative. Bigger takes positive. So that means bigger will take positive, smaller will take negative. Thus, if we are writing the factor of this equation, this quadratic equation, two values of x, wherever you choose to place it, the major thing is which one takes negative and which one takes positive. So when you have something like this, you have already factored the quadratic equation using the rules I just placed for you in the first grade. So let's take okay, this example 1 on it. So let's take a second example on this same case 2, so that we can see that it is going to give us the same thing. It is a valid case. So let's take example 2. Now example 2 here, we have a quadratic equation, x squared plus 4x minus 32 equal to 0. So now I said that this is x and this is x. So how do you get 32? 32 times 1. Divide 32 by 2. You have what? 18. You have 16. 16 is 32, right? 16 times 2 will give you 32. Divide 16. You have 8 times what? If you divide 16 by 2, use the 2 and multiply this 2 to get what? 4, right? You divided it by 2, use the 2 and multiply this to get 4. That means 8 times 4 will give you what? 16. If you divide 8 by 2, you are going to get 4. And if you now multiply, you see now, it's just like a swap of it. So we don't need a swap of it. So we only need it to stop here. So that means this is the actual term that we need, where it can be simplified. The last thing it can be simplified to. So that means we're going to have this to be which one among these 8 and 4 takes negative now? Remember, if the middle term is positive, the last term is negative. So what's the rule? Positive, negative. So the bigger number will take positive, while the smaller number takes what? Negative. Bigger number will take positive, smaller number takes negative. Thus, we have factored this quadratic equation into plus 8 minus 4 equal to 0. To check this, just say x times x is x squared minus x times 4 is 4x plus 8 times x is 8x, then minus this 8 times 4 is 32, that is minus 32 equal to 0. Now check, this is going to give you positive 4. Do you see that? So that is the quickest way to solve your quadratic equation. Now let's look at the last example, example 3 on this case 2. So the last example here, that is example 3 that we're going to look at. The question said that we should factor this quadratic equation. This is positive, the middle term is positive, while the last term is what? Negative. Factor this quadratic equation. And like I taught you now, it is very much easy. Just split this into x, and this is x. Split this into what? Okay, fine. 10 times 1, right, is 10. Divided by 2, it will be 5 times 2. It's going to be 10. That's the last thing you can break it down to. Now, fine. We now say, if that be the case, and the middle term is positive, the last term is negative, which among them takes what? Negative, and which takes positive? We'll now check. Is it the big? Now let's check. Middle is positive, last is negative, so the bigger number must take positive. So the bigger will take positive while the smaller takes negative. Thus, we have factored this quadratic equation into, this is plus 5 and this is minus 2 equal to 0. This becomes the factor of this quadratic equation. So thanks for watching this video. I want you to recommend this to your friends and your school so that they could also watch and learn with you. Thank you. Subscribe to this channel.